Fire Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong holders, this is an emergency alert you need to hear before believing the next big revaluation headline of 2026. For years, millions of people following the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong have heard predictions about massive currency revaluations, overnight exchange rate changes, secret banking preparations, international agreements, and rates that could supposedly transform small currency holdings into enormous fortunes. But today, we need to talk about the harsh truth. Not the exciting rumor, not the secret rate, not the guaranteed date, the reality. Because in 2026, the biggest danger for IQD and VND holders may not be missing an RV. It may be believing something that was never officially confirmed in the first place. And that is why this video could be one of the most important discussions for anyone watching the Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong story. There is a huge difference between a currency reform, a banking reform, an exchange rate adjustment, a redenomination, a revaluation, and the dramatic overnight RV scenario that is constantly discussed online. These terms are often mixed together. And when they are mixed together, expectations can become completely disconnected from reality. So if you own Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, or you are simply following the RV 2026 story, stay with me because we are going to examine what could actually happen, what is speculation, what investors should watch, and why the next major development may not look anything like the rumors circulating on social media. Let's start with the Iraqi Dinar. Iraq has a complicated economic and financial environment. The country has significant oil resources and enormous economic potential, but it also faces structural challenges involving government finances, banking modernization, monetary policy, financial transparency, international payments, and economic diversification. That means the future of the Iraqi dinar cannot be analyzed by looking at one number alone. A currency exists inside an entire economic system. The Central Bank of Iraq has responsibilities involving monetary policy, financial stability, foreign exchange management, banking supervision, and payment systems. So whenever you hear about a new banking reform or financial development in Iraq, it is important to ask what the development actually changes. Does it change monetary policy? Does it change the official exchange rate? Does it change how banks operate? Does it improve international payment connectivity? Does it improve financial compliance? Or is it simply another step in a long-term modernization process? Those questions matter, because a banking reform does not automatically equal a currency revaluation. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in the RV community. Now let's talk about the Vietnamese Dong. Vietnam is also frequently included in global currency revaluation discussions. Online communities have circulated enormous exchange rate predictions for the Dong for years. But Vietnam's economic model is very different from Iraq's. Vietnam has become an important manufacturing and export economy, with deep connections to global supply chains. Its currency policy is managed within a broader economic framework involving trade, inflation, exports, investment, reserves, and monetary policy. So once again, an enormous overnight exchange rate increase would be a major economic event. It would not simply be a switch someone turns on behind the scenes. If Vietnam were to make a major change to its exchange rate regime, investors would need to consider the consequences for exports, imports, inflation, foreign investment, government policy, and the competitiveness of Vietnamese businesses. That is why, anyone promising a guaranteed multi-dollar VND exchange rate should be approached with extreme caution. The same applies to the Iraqi dinar. You may see claims online suggesting that one dinar could suddenly become worth several US dollars. You may see supposed rates appearing on websites or social media. You may hear that banks have already received instructions. You may even hear that a secret agreement has activated a new rate. But there is one simple question that should always be asked. Where is the official confirmation? If there is no official confirmation from the relevant monetary authority, then the claim remains unverified. This does not mean that Iraq or Vietnam can never change their currency policies. Of course they can. Countries change monetary policies all the time. The point is that investors should distinguish between what is possible and what has actually been announced. That distinction could save people from making expensive mistakes. Now here is where things become interesting. Even though a dramatic RV is not confirmed, there are still real developments worth watching. In Iraq, banking modernization is important. Electronic payment systems are becoming increasingly significant. Financial compliance matters. International banking relationships matter. Transparency matters. And the ability of Iraqi financial institutions to interact with the international banking system matters. These developments may not produce an overnight fortune for currency holders, but they can tell us something about the direction of Iraq's financial infrastructure. And that is important. A modern banking system creates a stronger foundation for economic activity. It can improve transaction efficiency. It can increase transparency. It can make international financial relationships easier. And it can potentially support greater foreign investment. So if you are following the Iraqi dinar, don't ignore these developments simply because they don't contain the words RV. Sometimes the most important signals are hidden inside boring-looking financial reforms. Now let's return to the Vietnamese Dong. Vietnam's economy has been undergoing significant structural development for years. The country has attracted manufacturing investment, expanded exports, developed its industrial base, and strengthened its role in global supply chains. For currency watchers, this creates a completely different story from the simplistic idea that the Dong is just waiting for a massive overnight revaluation. Vietnam's exchange rate policy is connected to the broader economy. If the value of the currency changes significantly, there can be consequences for exporters, importers, businesses, consumers, and international investors. This is why serious analysis has to consider economic fundamentals. Now, let's discuss one of the most common claims you will hear in RV videos. You must exchange immediately because the rate will disappear. This kind of statement creates urgency. It creates fear. And it encourages people to make decisions before verifying information. Be careful. A legitimate currency policy does not require you to trust an anonymous social media account. If a major revaluation occurs, official information should eventually become available through credible channels. The same applies to claims about secret exchange centers, special redemption appointments, hidden rates, or guaranteed access to enormous returns. Do not send money to someone simply because they promise access to an alleged RV opportunity. Do not provide sensitive banking information because someone says a new rate is about to activate. And do not borrow money to purchase currency based on a prediction. These are basic principles, but they become especially important when emotions are high. Now let's talk about the biggest misconception surrounding the term revaluation. A revaluation is not the same thing as making everyone rich. If a currency's official exchange rate changes, the economic consequences can be complicated. Governments and central banks have to consider inflation, exports, imports, reserves, monetary stability, debt, wages, and financial markets. A currency that suddenly becomes dramatically more valuable could create challenges for exporters because their goods become more expensive for foreign buyers. It could also change the price of imported goods. It could affect government revenues. It could affect businesses, it could affect banks, and it could affect ordinary consumers. That is why a major revaluation is an economic decision, not simply a gift to currency holders. This is the harsh truth that often gets lost in viral RV discussions. The other harsh truth is that holding a large number of currency units does not automatically mean you will become wealthy if the currency appreciates. The final result depends on the actual exchange rate, the conversion process, fees, taxes where applicable, liquidity, banking procedures, and the difference between official and market rates. So don't calculate your future wealth using an imaginary rate. Calculate only using rates that are officially confirmed. Now let's discuss what investors should actually watch in 2026. For Iraq, watch the Central Bank of Iraq. Watch official monetary policy announcements. Watch foreign exchange regulations. Watch banking reforms. Watch digital payment developments. Watch international banking relationships. Watch inflation and economic indicators. And watch government financial policies. For Vietnam, watch the State Bank of Vietnam. Watch official exchange rate policy. Watch inflation. Watch exports and imports. Watch foreign exchange reserves. Watch economic growth. And watch major monetary policy announcements. These are the types of signals that can tell you more than a viral post saying, RV tonight. Now imagine for a moment that a major currency change really was coming. What would you expect to see? You would likely expect official policy preparation. You would expect financial institutions to be involved. You would expect banking systems to be capable of handling the change. You would expect regulatory and monetary authorities to communicate. And you would eventually expect credible evidence. That is why investors should watch the infrastructure. The infrastructure tells the story. If Iraq continues modernizing its financial system, that is meaningful. If Vietnam continues strengthening its economy and financial infrastructure, that is meaningful. But neither development should automatically be converted into a prediction of a specific exchange rate. This is where responsible RV analysis differs from hype. Responsible analysis says, here is what we know. Here is what we don't know. Here is what is possible. And here is what would need to happen before we could call it confirmed. That is the approach we are taking today. Now there is another issue that IQD and VND holders need to understand. Currency speculation can create confirmation bias. If you already believe an RV is coming, every banking announcement can look like evidence. A new payment system becomes evidence. A government meeting becomes evidence. A new banking regulation becomes evidence. A change in oil prices becomes evidence. A treasury meeting becomes evidence. A website update becomes evidence. But not every financial development is related to an RV. Sometimes a banking reform is simply a banking reform. Sometimes a government meeting is simply a government meeting. Sometimes a currency fluctuation is simply a market movement. The ability to separate these things is critical. Because otherwise, you can end up connecting unrelated events into a story that sounds convincing but has no official foundation. This is especially important in 2026 because social media can amplify financial rumors within minutes. A screenshot can go viral. A headline can be copied hundreds of times. A prediction can become news simply because thousands of people repeat it. But repetition does not create confirmation. Official evidence does. Now let's talk about the possibility of future changes. Could Iraq change its exchange rate policy? Yes, as a sovereign country, Iraq can make monetary policy decisions. Could Vietnam change its currency policy? Yes. Could either country experience changes in exchange rates? Absolutely. But can we responsibly guarantee a specific rate or date? No. And anyone claiming otherwise should be able to provide extraordinary evidence. This is why the smartest strategy for currency holders is patience. Don't let someone else's countdown dictate your financial decisions. Don't let fear make you buy. Don't let excitement make you sell. And don't let a viral video convince you that you have only hours left. Instead, follow official information. Now here's the question I want every viewer to think about. If the RV doesn't happen tomorrow, does the long-term story of Iraq or Vietnam disappear? No. Their economies will continue developing. Their banking systems will continue evolving. Their monetary authorities will continue making decisions. Their relationships with international markets will continue changing. And those developments may be much more important over the long term than any single rumor. For Iraqi dinar holders, the future could depend heavily on Iraq's ability to strengthen financial institutions, diversify its economy, improve banking efficiency, and integrate more effectively with international markets. For Vietnamese Dong watchers, the long-term story is closely connected to Vietnam's economic growth, manufacturing sector, exports, investment, monetary policy, and role in global trade. Those are real stories, those are measurable, and those are worth watching. So when the next headline appears saying, IQD RV confirmed, or VND revalue tonight, don't immediately celebrate. Pause. Check the source. Look for official confirmation. Ask whether the information changes the actual exchange rate. Ask whether the central bank has announced it. Ask whether credible financial institutions are reporting it. And ask whether the claim is based on evidence or simply another prediction. That discipline is especially important if you have invested your hard-earned money. Because the harsh truth is that no YouTube video can guarantee your financial future. No anonymous source can guarantee an RV. And no one can responsibly promise you a specific exchange rate without official confirmation. But there is another side to this story. You don't have to abandon the Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong discussion simply because the rumors are unconfirmed. You can follow the developments intelligently. You can watch the banking reforms. You can monitor official monetary policy. You can follow international financial developments. You can learn how exchange rates actually work. And you can remain prepared without becoming emotionally dependent on a specific date. That is the difference between being informed and being manipulated by hype. So, Iraqi Dinar holders and Vietnamese Dong watchers, consider this your emergency alert, not because an RV has been officially announced, but because misinformation can spread faster than real financial news. The biggest opportunity in 2026 may not be predicting the exact day of a revaluation. It may be understanding the financial system well enough to recognize a real change when it actually happens. If Iraq officially changes its exchange rate policy, we need to examine the details. If Vietnam officially changes its monetary framework, we need to examine the details. If banks receive official instructions, we need evidence. If a new exchange rate appears, we need to verify it. And if someone claims they know a secret rate, we need to ask the most important question of all. Where is the proof? Until that proof exists, keep rumors in the rumor category. Keep possibilities in the possibility category. And keep confirmed financial information in the confirmed category. That approach could save you from making a decision based on excitement rather than evidence. So as we continue through 2026, keep watching the Iraqi Dinar. Keep watching the Vietnamese Dong. Keep watching central bank policy. Keep watching banking reforms. Keep watching international financial developments. But most importantly, keep watching the facts. Because the real story may not be a dramatic overnight announcement. It may be a gradual transformation that becomes visible only when you look at the entire financial picture. And if a genuine revaluation ever occurs, the evidence will matter far more than the rumors that came before it. If you found this analysis useful, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more Iraqi Dinar news, Vietnamese Dong news, RV 2026 updates, currency analysis, banking developments, and global financial news. And tell me in the comments, are you watching IQD, VND, or both? And what do you think is the most important financial signal to watch before any potential revaluation? Remember, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. No specific Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong revaluation, exchange rate, date, or financial return is guaranteed. Always verify important information through official and reliable sources before making any financial decision.